What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be doing a complete hero guide for arguably the main character of Star Wars, Anakin Skywalker, and this has probably been the most requested guide in the comments of all my other guides, so I'm glad I finally got it done for you guys. In these hero guides, we're going to be covering everything that could possibly need covering, from base stats, ability stats, the best star cards for Galactic Assault and Supremacy, as well as some of the best maps to choose them on, some general tips for those game modes, the best star cards for heroes vs villains and HvV Showdown, which enemy characters you need to look out for, and then lastly covering some general tips for the hero game modes as well. So as you can see, this guide is going to be breaking down every single aspect of the hero. If you are new around here and you end up enjoying this video, then be sure to subscribe to the channel for more Battlefront 2 content, and be sure to hit that notification bell as well so that you are notified each time I upload more videos like this moving forward. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's get stuck right into it. So getting into Anakin's base stats, and all around he is definitely up there with the best when it comes to the base stats. Starting off with his base HP, he has 800, which is obviously above average for most saber users, and as for how much health he can regenerate at once, he can regen up to 250 HP, which is pretty much on par with most saber heroes in the game as well. In terms of his damage, he deals 130 damage from the front and 170 damage from behind, both being slightly above average as well, and I believe he has the highest damage from behind out of anyone in the game. Now, where those damage stats get even better is that he has a swing speed of 2.2 swings per second, which is up towards the higher end compared to most other saber heroes. So not only is his damage higher than pretty much anyone in the game, but he also has one of the fastest swing speeds in the entire game as well. To counter that, however, he can only swing it 12 times before running out of stamina, which is about the average. However, he can also only block 10 saber attacks, which is definitely towards the lower end compared to pretty much everyone else in the game. So those stamina stats do at least cause him to be a little bit more balanced, because obviously his damage output is up there with the best. Now moving on to his abilities, and his abilities are probably up there with some of the best in the game, mostly because he has a fourth ability, and 3 of those abilities are also ragdoll abilities, which is probably why he can be very frustrating to go against. His left ability is called Pull Dominance, and this is essentially a force pull that deals damage to anyone that it affects. It deals 120 damage per use, which is actually pretty decent considering Kylo's force pull only deals 10 damage. However, it's still not quite enough to be a one-hit kill either, but in saying that, it also knocks enemies off their feet and pretty much drops them right at your own feet, so if you do hit a trooper with this, it may as well be a one-hit kill anyway. It has a 15-second cooldown, which is definitely pretty good considering how useful the ability can be. Moving on, we have his middle ability, which is called Heroic Might, and this causes Anakin to absorb all incoming damage, taking an 80% damage reduction while using it, and then using that to unleash a force blast, damaging anyone within the area of effect. It deals 100 damage, which can be made a one-hit kill with the use of a star card, and the area of effect actually grows when you take damage too, so you can either use it quickly or you can run into a highly contested area and take out more enemies by letting it grow, and with an 18-second cooldown, this is definitely his best ability, at least in the trooper modes anyway. Now for his right ability, we have Passionate Strike, and this one causes him to deal a heavy strike with his lightsaber. It deals 180 damage or 250 damage if you can actually catch the enemy on the upswing as well, and it can deal damage through blocks as well, so this one is great for dueling with a lightsaber villain. It requires only a 13-second cooldown, which is really solid, and so that can be really handy in a 1v1 as you can use it fairly regularly. Now lastly, we have his Retribution ability, and this one is very unique to the game. When you activate Retribution, it will cause Anakin to choke all nearby enemies with the Force, lifting them off the ground and then also using a Force Blast to knock them back, dealing a total of 222 damage. It does, however, require 2,500 damage to be charged up for use, and that damage can come from yourself or nearby teammates. So it does usually take quite a while to be charged, and more often than not, it's sort of an ability that you can only use maybe once or twice per game. So that is it for all of his base stats and abilities, and now we are going to move on to some tips for Galactic Assault and Supremacy, starting off with his best star cards. Keep in mind, these cards are just a matter of opinion. There aren't really any loadouts in the game that are objectively the best or anything like that, but these are just what I find to work best in these modes. The first card I'd recommend is the Tenacious star card, and this one gives Anakin up to 100 extra health when fully upgraded. He already starts on 800 HP, so this one is definitely not needed as he's quite tanky already, but in my eyes it is always hard to turn down extra health for any character, so for me this one is a must have. The second card I'd recommend is the Raw Strength card, and this one causes Heroic Might to deal up to 50 more damage, making it a one-hit kill on any regular troopers other than heavy. This is just as important as the last card in my opinion. Heroic Might is not all that good without this card, and with this card it becomes borderline OP, so this one is a must have for these game modes. The third card I'd recommend is the Control the Force card, and this is once again for the Heroic Might ability, giving it an extra 5 meters of base range, meaning you won't need to worry about charging it up nearly as often. This card combined with the last card literally makes this ability about twice as good, and so for me personally, these are the only 3 cards that I use in the Trooper modes. Now, moving on to the best maps to choose him on in Galactic Assault, the 3 maps that I personally think he's the best on are Starkiller Base, Endor, and Naboo. All of these maps have a really great mix of ranges, but they all have great close quarters areas too, and this is where Anakin shines when he can combine all of his abilities to do his best work. So for me personally, these are the ones that I find him to be the best on. Now, moving on to some general tips for Galactic Assault and Supremacy, and although Anakin is definitely not the best compared to what he was at launch, he is still a really decent character in the right hands, and if you know what you're doing with him, you can still tie together some very handy kill streaks. One thing about Anakin is that he's definitely not reliant on his abilities, but they absolutely do make him a better character, and so if you're making the most of those and combining them with your regular lightsaber attacks as often as possible, then you're likely going to do very well with him. Using his pull dominance ability and then combining that into either a quick lightsaber attack or even a heroic might attack is pretty much going to guarantee kills on anyone that you hit with pull dominance, and little combinations like those are what makes Anakin so good, because he has easily some of the best ability combinations in the entire game. Pretty much any combination of attacks is going to go fairly well, but generally starting off with those combinations with pull dominance is the best way to go, simply because it's going to gather a bunch of enemies closer to you, and then from there it makes your life a lot easier. So while pull dominance might not be his single best ability, it is arguably his most important. Now, one other thing that I get a lot of questions about with Anakin is why I don't use his added damage card that allows his saber attacks to become a one-hit kill, and for me there is a logical reason behind it. His swing speed is so fast that if you're only saving yourself a single swing in order to get a kill, that's less than half a second that you're saving at the risk of running out of stamina much faster, and having no stamina is one of the easiest ways to die in Battlefront 2. His stamina is already far from the best in the game, and so for me personally, I'd rather spend that extra, half a second getting the kill in order to have more stamina overall, and therefore be much safer throughout the match. Obviously, it just comes down to preference, so I'd hardly say that it is a bad card to use, but for me personally, that's just why I don't tend to use it. To summarize, Anakin is great at combining abilities, so be sure to always be on the lookout for combo opportunities, and then when it comes to his stamina, be sure to stay on top of it, because no stamina can lead to a very quick and very frustrating death more often than not. So now moving on to the hero vs villain game modes, and he is a really solid hero in these modes too, mostly because he has so many ragdoll abilities that he can be very frustrating to go against for pretty much anyone on the dark side. Starting off with his star cards, the first card that I'd recommend is the Tenacious card that I mentioned earlier. The added health just makes him so much more of a tank, so this one is a no-brainer. The second card I'd recommend is the Attraction card, and this one gives pull dominance a further range by up to 5 meters. Now, specifically against the likes of Palpatine, Boba, and Bosk, this can really give you an advantage, because if you can get them closer to you, you will easily take care of them more often than not. The third card I'd recommend is the Fierce Fighter card, and this one just reduces the cooldown of Passionate Strike by up to 4 seconds. Now, Passionate Strike has a 13-second cooldown already, and so with this card equipped, you can essentially break an enemy's block every 9 seconds, which in a 1v1 is absolutely insane. Now, if you don't like one of those cards, then the Steamroll card is another great option. This one makes it so that every troop kill or 200 damage to an enemy villain, you'll get a decrease of stamina cost by 2% to a maximum of 40%. So if you were to kill Vader, for example, that's nearly 1,000 damage, meaning you'd gain almost a 10% reduction in stamina drain, and so this one is definitely helpful if you do find yourself running out of stamina. Now, as for heroes that you need to look out for, the 2 that I've put here are Vader and Count Dooku. Just like I pretty much always say for these 2, Vader is clearly the best in the game and is such a tank that he can just be hard to defeat at times, and then Dooku is just so good at dueling and deals damage so quickly that he definitely needs to be looked out for, so keep an eye on these 2 at all times. Now, finally moving on to just some regular tips for the hero game modes, and as is the same for most characters, his playstyle in these modes is pretty much identical to his playstyle in the other modes. Ability combinations are the area that he does the best in. If you can successfully pull an enemy towards you, then you can usually combine all of your other abilities together, and even a lightsaber attack as well. So more often than not, a successful use of pull dominance can pretty much lead to an almost guaranteed 400 or 500 damage attack. Against blaster heroes, and especially against Palpatine, pull dominance is equally as important. One of Anakin's biggest weaknesses is fighting at range, because his stamina is so poor that they can literally just drain it so fast. So if you can get those enemies to your feet, then they're going to be in a bit of a panic, and really once they're close enough, you should have no trouble taking them out at all. He really is pretty simple, honestly, so there's not that much more to actually be said about his playstyle. To summarize, you just want to make sure to use those ability combinations as much as you can without obviously just wasting them, but combining them together is key. and getting enemy blaster heroes closer to you with pull dominance is also super important, as they will make a meal of you at range, so be sure to focus on closing ground on those blaster heroes. That is going to do it for this one though, guys. As always, a massive thank you to my channel members and my patrons for the continued support. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel as well, then be sure to check out the Patreon page that is linked down in the description. If you enjoyed the video and it did help you guys out, then be sure to leave a like down below to support the channel, and be sure to subscribe with those notifications on so you don't miss out on any more Star Wars Battlefront 2 content. Thank you all so much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
Crush them! Make them suffer!